Part 60. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 592. I didn't do anything deliberately, such as going up to send flowers. Although it is said that before you discover yourself, you will definitely get rejection. But after discovering himself, he would definitely accept the flowers sent by the Admiral out of surprise. Ark Royal doesn't know, but the unicorn who has at least achieved 100 favors by frying fish in the game will definitely accept it. However, if you walk up directly, you will probably be discovered before you send the flowers. If you want to surprise people, you should wear sunglasses so that people will not be able to recognize you at the first time. When he first met Xiao Zai in the ruins of the Tutelary mansion, he was wearing sunglasses, so Xiao Zai couldn't recognize him. Well, I remember wearing a hat that time to protect myself from the sun. It's just that after all, Sugu likes to watch the excitement, but he doesn't like to be the protagonist of the excitement. No matter good or bad, he never likes to be in the limelight anyway. Rather, he likes to be a dog-headed strategist. In the past, in the academy, he liked to instigate those students to pursue the instructors or faculty members of the academy, and he put forward a lot of opinions on this. How to fake a chance encounter, how to strike up a conversation, how to build a closer relationship, and how to judge a person's preferences based on the history of the battleship. Of course, due to various reasons, his relationship with Akage was not exposed at first. Although she has the nickname of being a glutton, Akage is an absolute goddess in the academy. If someone wants to take action against Akage, they will often laugh at you. If you have no hope, don't bring trouble to yourself. The program at the entrance of the theater did not list the time in detail. Considering that the performance started very early, the performance would not last forever under normal circumstances, and even dinner would be missed. It was already close to the afternoon when I got off the bus, but when I came back after walking around, it was even close to the evening. It doesn't matter if it's fast or not, it doesn't take long. When the lanterns first came on, Counterattack kept paying attention to the door of the theater. She suddenly said, "An audience has come out and has already dispersed." Sugu was still chatting with Hood. When he heard the sound, he looked towards the theater and saw many people coming out. He saw many cars parked nearby and a beautifully decorated classical carriage approaching the door. He said, "Pay attention, look, don't miss it." Huda said, "It's not that fast. They should have to go backstage to remove their makeup." "Are you going back to the path?" Sugu looked around. No, Hood still knew this. The black tea and juice were refilled, and the snacks were also served again. Finally, before sunset and darkness, I saw the unicorn and the royal ark coming out together. Not from the main door of the theater, but from the side path. It seems that the side entrance of the theater is over there. However, there is no need to worry as everyone is on their way. Those two people at the door of the coffee shop. Well, the person in front is the Ark Royal, and the person in the back is the unicorn. Standing up, Sugu looked over from a distance, unable to see the details clearly. What was unforgettable was the unicorn's long silver hair with a hint of ice blue. Unlike Royal Oak, whose black hair hangs down like silk, her long hair gives people a dream-like feeling. She is not dressed up like in the game. She wears a wreath on her head and wears a pure white dress dotted with flowers, paired with stroppy high heels also dotted with flowers. Since it was already spring and it wasn't really cold, she was wearing a gauze long skirt and looked as plain as a white lotus. Huda said, "They have changed their clothes again." Sugu said, "It looks very different from before. Everyone won't dress like they used to. Only worn inside the governor's mansion? But their clothes are not revealing. For the ship girl, the only man in the garrison is the admiral, so he is the admiral anyway, so he can dress however he wants and feel free to do so. Outside, you will still take good care to protect yourself." Hood paused and told the truth, "The clothes are gorgeous and beautiful, but they are too difficult to wash. The royal ark is next to the unicorn. I don't quite understand how she can play the prince. She doesn't look like Washington, the Prince of Wales, or Richelieu. She looks handsome and chic in men's clothes. She has long orange hair, a balloon-sleeved shirt on top, and a striped skirt underneath. I wonder if posing with a bow and arrow will turn her into a Valkyrie, just like Akage purses her lips tightly, her long hair flying in the sea breeze, and her dignity becomes heroic. Anyway, from the current point of view, it seems a bit softer. The Ark Royal equipment was indeed removed from the game. After all, it was impossible to place the heroic Mecha Swordfish, 810 Squadron, on the warehouse manager. Then the blue carrier-based aircraft hin seemed to be picked up easily, but I really didn't have much impression. I just heard Hood say that regular aircraft carriers without carrier-based aircraft can only act as actors. This is naturally a joke. When working in such a place, there is no need to attack, and it makes little difference whether there are carrier-based aircraft or not. The only power used to deal with malicious intentions from humans, such as robbery, theft, and indecent assault, is easy. Ark Royal really wants to obtain carrier-based aircraft. Even if it has not been available in the past, it can still be obtained through construction. For example, San Juan is just picked up and left alone in the game, so the equipment must not be complete. However, when I met her on the passenger ship, she was well equipped, although not very good. If there is really no way to get a hero aircraft, it is actually quite difficult to get the bomber BTD-1 destroyer here, but it is not too difficult to get a carrier-based aircraft that is regarded as a whiteboard and green by everyone. The equipment of York City in the garrison has always been inconsistent, but everyone is a hero and has a high vision, and there is really no need to waste resources on building more. They are already here. I also want to give them a surprise. Therefore, there is some mysterious connection between the Admiral and the ship girl. Everyone is sitting next to each other, not in a very conspicuous place. However, after coming out of the theater, the unicorn and the Royal Ark immediately looked over. "How did you find us?" "I don't know." After a moment, Hood also stood up, waved and shouted, "Here." Unicorn and Royal Ark saw this and ran over. Hood, "Fight back." Then he hesitated, and, "Admiral." Just like this, no matter how Lexington misunderstood and everyone searched for him thousands of times, no less than the chance encounter with Sigsby, everyone recognized each other very easily. Sitting in a small shop on the side of the road, talking about the situation in the townhouse and everyone's affairs, they were just repeating what they had said countless times before. Sugu finished speaking here, and then Unicorn talked about their performance in the theater. Ark Royal waved his hand and said, "Don't praise me, the main thing is your performance as Unicorn. Everyone came to see you play the harp and sing." The unicorns appear to have gentle, humble personalities and equally graceful manners. Without Ark Royal's brilliant lines, the show would surely be overshadowed. Sugu said, "Anyway, they are all great." The unicorn bit his lip. "Admiral, can you come over and watch our performance tomorrow?" Ark Royal raised his profile. "Tomorrow is the last performance, there will be no more shows later." "No, there seems to be a performance the day after tomorrow, specifically for farewell." "Actually, it doesn't matter. You want to show Unicorn to the Admiral? If so, you can do whatever you want later." The unicorn asked timidly, "Admiral, are you still leaving?" "I won't leave." "Well, I will also go to your show tomorrow." Everyone did go to see the performance the next day. They thought they would get preferential treatment, but they still had to buy tickets. Sit down in the opera hall, which can accommodate many people. There is a square stage in front of you, and the seats in the center of the stage are in a fan shape. I watched some shows first, but didn't speak the whole time. After all, talking while watching a show obviously doesn't have a good effect. The unicorn's performance comes later, mainly featuring her playing the harp and singing, and then supplemented by a simple plot with the royal arc. Looking at the performance and the surroundings, it reminded Sugu of the Phantom of the Opera, and he was really worried about the chandelier that suddenly fell from the ceiling. But if I want to fight back, I will definitely protect myself. After all, the excellent little maid, in fact, I didn't think anything of it before, but after seeing the reputation, I suddenly felt that there were still many shortcomings in the counterattack. In addition to being in the theater, the unicorn also performed alone with everyone in Sugu. Sitting in the small garden in the yard, the unicorn sat alone on a white chair holding her harp. Behind her were lush roses growing with pink flowers that almost covered the entire wall. The sound of piano and soft singing sounded, and the unicorn really looked like an elf. Royal Ark sat next to Sugu. The unicorn's performance has been praised by many masters. Very good. The musical idiot couldn't explain why, so Sugu could only give this answer. If I have to describe it, I can only give sentences similar to the orchids in the empty valley and wandering around the beams for 3 days. Hood knew music and it was beautiful, so she even stopped stroking the ginger and fish cakes while sitting on the chair, and put down the black tea. The all-powerful head maid here may also understand that the counter-attack is actually almost the same as Sugu, a little better but not much better. She said, "It sounds very good." Sugu replied, "It sounds very good." They kept whispering during the show, and when they stopped for a drink of water midway to the unicorn, the two cheesy guys started discussing rock music in Alaska and Guam. The counterattack also mentioned that Sugu was actually very good at singing. Sugu quickly said that all the songs he heard were from what he heard, and he did not make them up himself, and they were always out of tune. Then he expressed that he really liked to listen to the little Loli singing, and her childish voice was so beautiful. The counterattack came suddenly. The unicorn is so beautiful with the garland. Sugu thought of the performance and said, "It looked great wearing the princess crown in yesterday's performance. You just like cross-dressing." Sugu did not deny it and said, "By the way, will a unicorn carry a horn? This is the right thing. A unicorn is a unicorn is not a unicorn. Can't understand." Counterattack explanation: the unicorn is the light aircraft carrier USS Unicorn. The unicorn is not a horse. As soon as these words came out, Sugu immediately thought of My Little Pony and the Pony Cult. I went to the theater specifically to watch the unicorn's last performance, but in the end, everyone was waiting at the entrance of the theater and encountered an accident. Actually, it can't be said to be an accident. The ship girl is pretty and has a good personality. Some wandering ship girls are hidden in society, and it's better not to be famous. It is very normal for a ship girl who performs like a unicorn to meet a suitor. Let's not talk about sincerity. Anyway, there is no way to disguise sinister intentions in front of a ship girl. Deception is of no use to a ship girl. It is even more impossible to use force or power to suppress others. You must not threaten a ship girl. It is not an easy matter to make a ship girl lose hope or become so angry that she becomes a deep-sea ship girl. No one can protect themselves from the anger coming from the government, the ship girl headquarters, and the admirals. Counterattack looked at the many people holding flowers at the entrance of the theater and said, "They must be sending flowers to the unicorn. I didn't see it a few days ago, why did it appear today?" Hood said, "Unicorns don't usually accept flowers, so of course you won't send them. Today is the unicorn's last performance. No matter whether it's good or bad, send flowers to express your love." Sugu nodded. Hood said, "As a gentleman, Admiral, you should send flowers." After hesitating for a moment, Sugu decided to go buy flowers with a counterattack. Listening to the female owner of the flower shop introducing the language of flowers, red roses, I love you. Carnations, maternal love. Sugu said, "What to choose?" Red roses. I don't really understand the counterattack. Okay, then give flowers to the unicorn. What about the royal ark? Although the royal ark is also very beautiful, those should be the ones giving flowers to the unicorns. Maybe there are people who take action against Ark Royal. Otherwise, buy 2 bunches. Ignoring the strange look, the boss looked at the 2 of them. It was okay to give flowers to 1 person, but what did it mean to give flowers to 2 people? Anyway, Sugu bought 2 bouquets of flowers, and finally stood at the door of the theater holding the flowers, waiting for the unicorn and the royal ark to come out, and then he was the first to go up. The unicorn naturally accepted the flowers sent by the admiral he liked, and also gave them a little hug. Then Ark Royal paused, feeling a little baffled, but accepted it. Then Sugu used the 2 girls to block the others' flowers. Everyone left soon after, and Sugu he fell behind the team in his counter-attack. Sugu said, "Actually, there was nothing fun. I really felt a little embarrassed at the time." Countered, "I liked Unicorn and Ark Royal." Sugu was thoughtful until he passed by the flower shop again. He signaled to fight back and leave first. Then something happened that shocked the flower shop owner. "This world is too crazy." Standing at the door of the flower shop, I saw a man who had just bought 2 bouquets of flowers to give to 2 people. He was not beaten. Now he was accompanied by 2 girls holding flowers. It seems that because there were 2 girls around me who didn't have any flowers, I went to the flower shop again and bought 2 more bouquets, and then there were 4 girls around me holding flowers. Everyone sends flowers, so there is no point in sending flowers, Hood smiled. We stayed here for several days and took a good stroll around the area. Finally, we all left together and returned to the city where Hood and its reputation are located. Although it wasn't time to leave yet, the admiral came over, so of course he had to leave with him. Speaking of which, here, Sugu is staying with Hood these nights, although there is no progress. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 593. She is already very good as a maid in the garrison. She has Fletcher as a helper, and Trust occasionally wears the maid's attire to help. However, everyone still calls her little maid and maid sister, and no one has mentioned that she should be promoted to head maid. Even the Prince of Wales, who is close to her, has never mentioned this. There will always be only one person in the hearts of everyone, and that is reputation. This is not just a counter-attack as the younger sister among the maid sisters, and then the reputation is the older sister. Of course, it involves a little bit of combat effectiveness. After all, it is a garrison, and its main task is to attack and suppress the deep-sea ship girls. During the sortie, the counter-attack was able to display unimaginable combat effectiveness at the beginning. However, as the battle continued and went deeper into the sea, the strength gradually weakened. On the contrary, the reputation of the maid became more and more courageous. Apart from fighting, counterattack is mainly responsible for sanitation work in the garrison. I can't say that I keep the garrison spotless, but it can be said to be clean. When it comes to taking care of people, Sugu doesn't need to fight back to take care of him. After all, he has Lexington by his side. Even if something happens to Lexington occasionally, as an admiral, he can get the care of too many people. Then the counterattack was mainly responsible for the Firefly, Amethyst and other British ships, especially taking care of the Prince of Wales. Help with washing, helping with hairstyle, helping with tidying up the room, taking absolutely every possible care. Even though they got along for a short period of time, Sugu valued the reputation. Get up early every day to prepare breakfast, and then wake up little Loli. In addition to work, she also has to pack everyone's clothes and clean. At night, she runs into little Loli's room to see if everyone is covered with quilts. She especially needs to take care of Hood. All in all, I was busy from morning till night, with no free time at all, even though I didn't do anything wrong. For the maid sisters, they are not just satisfied with the work of a maid. Their goal is to be a perfect maid, able to share everything for their master. At the beginning, the Prince of Wales ran the garrison. The Prince of Wales acted as the admiral, and then acted as the secretaryship. He was also able to manage a garrison in an orderly manner. In comparison, Reputation seems to have never managed a town hall, but her job is much more difficult. There is a hood above who can only shout 666. Not only that, but due to bad luck, he is even holding back many times. There are many people around me, some of them are indeed helpers, but most of them are burdens, such as a group of little Lolita waiting for dinner, or large oil bottles like Royal Oak. Despite this, he opened a company and made it prosperous, allowing everyone to live in a villa and have no worries about food and clothing. In many aspects, the two are actually evenly matched opponents. However, there are many reasons for her reputation to become the head maid, but only her back can be seen in counterattack. Let Sugu speak. Counterattack can be said to be an excellent maid, but in many places it is still not as good as its reputation. The most important point is that it is easier to be shy when fighting back, has a reputation and a generous personality, can do anything for the master, and is extremely powerful. I came back from another city with the unicorn and the royal ark. There are not many days until the end of the month, but the ship girl who went on a mission and traveled has not returned yet. Missouri still hasn't come back yet. I wonder what the progress is on her side and whether there will be any useful information. I also don't know if I can catch the Hindenburg. I usually say that I don't have any expectations, but in fact, it's just to prevent myself from being disappointed if I don't have any hopes. If Hindenburg can really be caught, what I said before will not matter at all. If you can't catch Hindenburg, you can just say, I know it, I know it. When I go to the city center these days, there are not many attractive places in the city, but I just walk around aimlessly. Perhaps to passers-by, this is just a man showing off with many beautiful girls. I watched how the Unicorn released the carrier-based aircraft. As a rare existence in the entire world, I didn't know much about it in the academy at first. It was originally thought that she produced notes by plucking the strings, and then the notes changed into carrier aircraft. There is naturally no way for musical notes to appear in reality, and her carrier-based aircraft are simply birds fluttering around her. The patterns on the birds of different carrier-based aircraft are also different, just as Akage carries different carrier-based aircraft, and the arrow feathers in her quiver are different. I also walked with Ark Royal on the beach and talked some words. Did Ark Royal start out with unicorns? The unicorn is holding my swordfish. Noticing Sugu's eyes, Royal Ark explained, it's not what you think. In fact, the unicorn said that he could give me the swordfish. I didn't ask for it and I wouldn't attack anyway. Anyway, there isn't much reason, it's just that the swordfish happened to go out together. Sugu said, speaking of which, I have seen a royal ark before, and she also has a heroic swordfish. Oh, does she look like me? It doesn't look like her. She is still an enemy of our garrison. We even practiced with her once and then crushed her. Of course, I was just talking about it. I and the other admiral had some conflicts in the past, but even now I still don't understand it after seeing it. Great. But it's been a long time since I really regarded him as an enemy. I didn't do anything to retaliate, and I wasn't so narrow-minded. The royal ark was quiet, and Sugu continued, I should be considered a European when it comes to it. After entering the academy, I built York City for the first time, and then York City participated in the exercise. Otherwise, Lexington, Saratoga, when Akage comes on the court, he is a bully. But he is also a bully, and York City brings a heroic fighter. At this point, Sugu laughed. Royal Ark was confused. Sugu replied, I also plan to return to the garrison, give you a carrier-based aircraft, and then steal from York City. In that case, you and York City will probably become very difficult to deal with. I don't need a carrier aircraft. Let's build a carrier-based aircraft. With the current resource reserves of the garrison, it doesn't matter if we build one. Ark Royal is non-committal. I talk to everyone during the day, and at night I have a little loli to accompany me. The destroyer is really great. Sugu likes little Lolita, who is pure, innocent, cute, naughty, and arrogant. He will hug her occasionally, but of course he will never touch her hands randomly. She is purely affectionate and polite. This is the pampering of little girls by adults, Lolita. You can be a lickin', but if you really touch a little Lolita, then you're a pervert and a bastard. I stayed like this for 2 days, and at night I saw Sheng Sheng working in a maid uniform and being busy. Not only that, but I also brought back a lot of documents from the company. Sugu wanted to help her, but he just took over the job. He didn't know how to do anything. Rather than helping, it was more like interrupting the work. He had been relying on his reputation and guidance to continue doing it intermittently. Although if you give me a little more time to get familiar with it, I will be able to handle various things smoothly, but I mainly don't have time now. Rather than trying to forcefully show his presence, which would be a disservice, Sugu could only stop and said, "For reputation, you can do it slowly, there's no need to rush." Reputation replied, "After finishing these things tonight, the next things can be said to be taken care of. If we don't finish the work early, we won't be able to serve the master. I don't need to be waited on. I can do anything by myself even without the ship girl." Sugu went to college after all and went out to work and live alone. Even back then, all junior high schools and high schools were boarding schools, so it was no problem for a person to take care of himself alone. Although it's possible, it would be better if we were there to serve you. Sugu had no way to refute and said, "Fight back with me, your sister." The counterattack leaves a lot to be desired. You actually don't recognize your sister. She has always admired you. Seek truth from facts. That's enough. Sheng Sheng put down the pen in his hand, smiled generously, and said one sentence that left Sugu speechless, "It is indeed enough, but I want to stay with the master." Reputation finished all the remaining work in the company in one night. Sugu accompanied her to the company the next day, and then everyone walked around the city. Returning home in the afternoon, I stood on the beach and watched the unicorn sitting on the rocks by the sea playing the harp. Compared to the beautiful music, there was something else more attractive. With the wind at its back, the gentle sea breeze blew up the unicorn's dreamy long hair and white gauze skirt. The barefoot unicorn played the piano and sang with an ethereal voice. Standing next to him, Sugu said, "The unicorn and Ark Royal work in the theater. I went to see a few performances and they were really good. It is said that many music masters have praised unicorn's level, and Ark Royal is a natural talent so powerful, ordinary people really have no advantage in many things." Reputation explanation: the unicorn has a talent for music, but everything depends on her hard work. Even a ship girl, no one can reach the top as soon as they wake up, they still need to work hard. Such as Royal Oak and Belpha, because Ste doesn't practice much, his level is still the same as before. He can be said to be very powerful, but he cannot be called a master. Your excellent work ability must be innate. Reputation was modest, not outstanding, just good at it. Sugu thought in his head that ship girl transformation needs a core in the game and an opportunity here. Then the opportunity for reputation to grow may be that her work ability becomes more and more powerful, until she becomes a decathlete, and then grows into an even more powerful head maid. A head maid who doesn't reform will end up being a lot worse. Royal Oak was always in a daze and took a nap on the sofa in the hall at noon. Under normal circumstances, taking a nap for a long time will not make you feel refreshed, but will make you very tired. This was how Royal Oak woke up in the afternoon, rubbing her head and becoming dazed. Her hair was a little messy, because she didn't need to worry about it so much at home. She was wearing a rather loose shirt. She felt a little hot and unbuttoned 2 buttons, allowing people to see the scenery inside. Sugu glanced unintentionally, and unintentionally glanced several times. Well, first he looked at the scenery outside the door, and then turned to look at the paintings hanging on the wall of the hall. He looked back and forth just to take more glances while turning his head. A few glances. Just as someone asked whether there is pure friendship between men and women. Someone answered that the uglier the girl, the purer the friendship. This sentence is of course an exaggeration, but there is certainly a lot of truth in it. In short, for Sugu, he was really not Luziawai, so it was impossible to turn a blind eye. The ship girls are all pretty, so they won't take off their clothes and crawl into the bed, but they are almost undefended. This is the case for everyone in the guarding mansion, even the relatively conservative Nunfeng Exeter occasionally benefits people. After all, for the ship girl, even the admiral needs to be on guard, so it is better not to join the garrison. When I called out the name admiral, my heart already recognized it. The unintentional benefits are always itchy, and the royal oak is super cute. Without looking twice, he suddenly noticed Sheng Sheng standing next to him, which made him feel a little guilty. However, Sheng Sheng didn't say anything. Until the evening, after dinner, Reputation asked, "Does the master prefer Bismarck or Hood?" Sugu replied, "They are all wedding ships. Bismarck is good, but Hood is not bad at all. Although her breasts can only rely on stuffed cats, they are at least much better than those of Veneto and others. Apart from this aspect, she is usually dignified and elegant. Rather than being a British lady, she is more suitable to be called a British lady. There is also a cute side that appears a lot of the time. When Bismarck is mentioned, he will go crazy and is easily bullied. The aggrieved look of being bullied is the best, and he is quite likable anyway. The Admiral has been sleeping with Hood these days." "Yes. Hood's character is quite shy." Sheng Sheng paused. "Speaking of which, I heard the counterattack said that the Admiral is in the garrison. Reputation has been mentioned, mentioning that Sugu will be with Lexington one day, and Bismarck one day." Sugu didn't feel shy at all. He just said, "Fight back against the little traitor." After all, he is not angry and his counterattack is very cute. The master never asked her to keep it a secret. No need for special instructions, privacy. Sheng Sheng said helplessly, "It shouldn't be private anymore." Sugu smiled and explained a few words, "Everyone is a wedding ship." He originally thought that nothing would happen, so at night, he was ready to take a shower. Entering the bathroom, the clothes in the bamboo basket have been prepared, and the hot water has been put in advance by Reputation. Seeing Sheng Sheng testing the water temperature with his hand, Sugu said, "That's all right, I'm not so squeamish." Then I heard Sheng Sheng ask nonchalantly, "Master, do you want Sheng Sheng to help?" Sugu naturally understood what Reputation meant, so he said hypocritically, "No need." "No need? Don't want to?" "Still don't dare." Sheng Sheng pursed his lips. "I asked Hood, I asked and fought back, and then as a man, an ordinary human man, you left the guard house, and now you have already. It's been a long time. It must be very hard to keep doing this. That's it for Hood, you ask what to do with counterattack." Sugu took a deep breath and thought, "My head made, my reputation, your performance is something even Lexington would be ashamed of. A generous performance that comes from prestige, this is considered a profound understanding." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 594. The shower sprayed water, and Sugu washed the foam off his hair. He bent down again and picked up the soap to wash his face. At this time, regret could be seen on his face. She has short blonde shoulder-length hair, cat-like charming heterochromatic eyes, plump figure, and wears a cute maid outfit. If you agree, the maid outfit might be replaced by a bath towel, or you might even wear nothing at all. Anyway, the reputation is absolutely beautiful. Ask people if they want it, and the answer is only one word: yes. I hesitated in my heart and wanted to agree, but in the end I rejected the prestige proposal. After all, this kind of unfolding is too fast. How long have we known each other? When I first heard the proposal, I was shocked, although it probably took a long time for the reputation. Sugu rubbed his face and washed the soap off his face again. He thought of what Reputation had said before he put the water in the bathtub, tested the water temperature, and left after being rejected. Master can find Prestige at will if he wants. Prestige is not only the head maid, but also the master's wedding ship. Serving the master is a matter of course. This sentence makes people think wildly, and it is still unforgettable to this day, so much so that they can even remember the tone and expression. There is sincerity in the ordinary, and there is absolutely no mischievous smile. Sugu believed that Reputation's words were true and was surprised. Chief maid, your counterattack is countless times more powerful than that of the little maid. She would never be able to say such a thing. After washing his body, Sugu lay down in the bathtub and let the hot water surround him. Then, somewhat bored, he stretched out his finger and gently poked at the toys that little Loli had placed in the bathroom, and then he picked them up and put them into the bathtub, including a little yellow duck, a boat, and a ball. Although he has recognized his identity as an admiral, there are still many things that he cannot fully adapt to. In the final analysis, I am not that open-minded, and I think both parties still need a certain degree of understanding. In fact, it is really hypocritical from this aspect, whether it is pure luck or some inexplicable development. Now that he has become an admiral, he is liked by everyone. This is an unchanging fact. If you don't do anything that hurts people's hearts, then the ship girl's love for you won't change so casually. In the garrison, if they want, most of the people can just give the ring and knock it down as much as they want. I can't say how perverted I am, and of course I can't say how loyal I am either. Not to mention those who have been given rings. Among the people who have not been given rings, except for little Lolita, such as Richelieu, Ziwihi, Washington, San Juan, Leipzig, etc., there is no unforgettable love, but there is still love. Speaking of which, after being an admiral for so long, I have learned a lot about ship girls. It is not a life like human beings. Many concepts are different. To them, it is not important to overthrow them. The most important thing is to feel that the admiral likes them. As some people in the academy say, you are alone and have so many weddings, do you still want to live past 30? Of course this sentence is a joke. Like many female admirals, they are also capable of getting married. For a ship girl, there is no distinction between pushing, kissing, hugging, and holding hands with sincere feelings. Looking at it this way, if it is not pushed down because of love, or pushed down just to satisfy desire, it is nothing at all. Raising his head and staring at the ceiling, where the incandescent lamp cast orange light, Sugu thought of Lexington. Locking the door and pushing back in one go. Lexington did this mainly because he could sense his thoughts, but a certain person was just too cowardly. In comparison, living with the head maid was too short, and the only impression I had was of being beautiful, chic, and powerful. Reputation should be able to feel this. She still made the request. Thinking about it, it was probably just to satisfy her physiological needs or desires. Since she got the ring, she was just fulfilling the responsibilities of the wedding ship and the head maid, and she may not like it herself. Sugu leaned in the bathtub and let himself sink little by little, with half of his face immersed in the water. If you think so, if you refuse, you will refuse. Of course you will regret it if you regret it. She has a voluptuous figure and is beautiful. She is a mature older sister and a maid. She will definitely obey your orders and may even get wet next. How stupid that I actually refused. I had thought of so many scenes while playing games before, but when they really appeared in front of my eyes, I gave up because I was too fussy about it. Yagong is such a dragon, my heart is bleeding. After soaking like this for a long time, Sugu suddenly realized something. It shouldn't be difficult for a person to do something he likes for the person he likes, and then he actually refuses. In fact, Sugu should have realized that he was a coward. In regret, he came out of the bathroom after taking a shower, changed his clothes, and threw all the remaining clothes into the bamboo basket. The bamboo basket that had already been filled with some clothes was now full. He stood in front of the mirror and briefly combed his hair with a comb. Not a minute later, Sheng Sheng walked in and bent down to pick up the bamboo basket. Has it been washed? It's washed. Master, do you want to sleep with Sheng Sheng at night? Sheng Sheng knew very well that someone was a coward. The movement stopped for a moment, and Sugu thought to himself, you are too persistent, I really have to agree, but he still said, I remember to fight back and sleep with you. Let her sleep with the royal oak. Sugu was speechless for a moment, thinking that you must be from a girl's family. Then I heard Reputation continue, would you like to change into a bunny girl costume? Master has been thinking about it before. Reputation has never changed clothes in the game. I have been thinking that if Reputation changes clothes, I like the wedding dress very much, but it doesn't suit the status of the head maid, so I can wear a bunny girl costume. Sugu was still reminiscing when he heard Sheng Sheng say again, I heard the counter-attack say, let her wear a bunny girl costume. It was a bet with her. She only wore it after she lost. It was a bet in order to cover up his evil thoughts, Sugu replied, but that was indeed the case. Master, please take the hand to fight back. He wanted to explain that he had been with the cute little maid for so long, well, he was a bastard, and there was no reason at all. He just wanted to hold hands, but Sugu didn't refute. Does the Admiral like to fight back? It's cute to fight back, he couldn't lie, and he felt a little embarrassed to say it so openly. Otherwise, let's do this. I'll sleep with Hood at night, and you'll sleep with Counterattack. She's not a wedding ship, let's just give her the ring. The little maid can warm your bed, but if you want to go further without a ring, Sugu has always thought so, but Reputation gave a different answer, it's shy to fight back, Admiral, just be a little tougher. Sugu hesitated to speak. Seeing the Reputation, she asked, what does the master want to say? The Prince of Wales once mentioned that it was time for you to give the Admiral a counter-attack ring. I replied like this, you are pimping me. The Prince of Wales suddenly became angry and hit the person with his backhand. I didn't expect that Reputation would be more direct this time. You don't even need to give me the ring, just knock it down. Sugu said helplessly, you are the sister who fights back, right? Reputation's expression remained unchanged, as a maid, serving the master is what we have to do. Since the Admiral has rejected me, you can find my sister. Am I that kind of person? Sugu thought of his behavior in the afternoon. Although Royal Oak was super cute, in the end he still lacked determination and could not be a gentleman. Just as he was talking, a figure came over. It was a counterattack. There were a lot of people in the whole villa, and there were a lot of clothes to change. Naturally, it was impossible for my sister to do the counterattack alone, so she came to help. After getting along for a short period of time, his reputation is not that of a purely serious person, so he can joke around. Sugu smiled at the Reputation and said that I said what you just said to counterattack. However, all he saw was Sheng Sheng smiling and unworried. Thinking about it, he still decided to forget it. Sugu didn't say anything, but Sheng Sheng spoke, anyway, whatever the master wants to do, he just needs to discuss it with Sheng Sheng. Counterattack looked at the two people in confusion, what riddle are you playing? It's nothing. Sugu waved his hands, feeling guilty, I'm leaving first. Leaving the bathroom, Sugu thought to herself, no matter what you do, as long as you are correct, don't worry, don't be afraid, believe in yourself, be perfect, chic and confident, the head maid will never look back at the explosion. Until Sugu left, he counterattacked and asked curiously, Sister, what did you just say? Sheng Sheng stood by the faucet holding a bamboo basket. She stretched out her hand to turn on the faucet, and the water fell. She said, it's nothing. I just told the Admiral that as maids, we will satisfy him no matter what he wants. Counterattack nodded, she knew her sister's character very well, we are maids, and we should serve the master. But he always doesn't have the consciousness of being a master. That's right, Counterattack understood deeply. As she spoke, she looked back at Sugu's back, Sister, I found that the master looked at me with a strange expression. Yeah. Probably the counterattack suddenly became unconfident. Counterattack, how does the master usually treat you? The counter reply, very good. We are maids. Sheng Sheng suddenly showed a knowing smile, and she remembered that she had heard of too many people at work who appeared to be gentlemen, serious, on point, and orderly, but could do anything in private. And the Admiral is different from those people, which is great. She thought again, had this become a test? There was no thought of any test. I wanted to help my master relieve the pressure that all men have. This is the duty of being a wedding ship and a maid, but I was rejected. Thinking about it, she turned to look in the mirror and put her hand on her face. Compared to his sister and Hood, he looks older than them, as if he is 30 years old. Worry. Do not worry. She blinked in the mirror, thinking that her master definitely liked the way he looked at her, and there was no need to worry about her charm. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 595. Everyone had breakfast together in the morning, and M1 walked to Sugu with a cup. Then she drank the milk in one gulp, and after receiving a compliment from Sugu, she asked, Admiral, we don't want to go to class anymore. Why? Let's go home. In fact, the reason is very simple. Even if there are many friends in the ship girl headquarters, no one likes to attend class. Sugu said, we have to wait a little longer. M1 acted coquettishly, I just don't want to go to class. Admiral, can I play with you? This proposal was irresistible. Sugu hesitated for a moment. He looked at Reputation, and the two discussed it. Now that I have returned from going out, I will not leave until I return to the town hall. Prestige also takes care of all the company's affairs and allows you to distract yourself from taking care of people. It just so happens that there are only a few days left. When everyone comes back, we can go back to the town hall together. Little Loli doesn't need to go to class at all. She will start class again when she returns to the town hall. Sugu said, okay. Yeah, M1 jumped up and turned around to leave. As a ship girl, she doesn't have any academic status and doesn't need to go through the transfer procedures. However, it's not just a matter of not going. At least she has to communicate with her. As the Admiral, Sugu would of course have to go. Since he was about to go there, he suddenly remembered something, he really wanted to go there and fish for the boat. Sugu asked. Among the little Lolita, the only ones who were relatively reliable were Zeal, Acasta, and Venus. In the end, Acasta, who was a reserve member of the military police, stood up. Cossack, she has an admiral. Aviel, she doesn't have an admiral. She receives many gifts every festival, more than anyone else. Then Z1, she also has an admiral. She forgets to wear a skirt when going out several times. And as a vampire, she doesn't have an admiral, but there is an admiral working at the ship girl headquarters, so there is no need to worry about whose destroyer it belongs to. It is absolutely impossible to attack a destroyer with an admiral. Among the remaining destroyers, forget about the destroyers already in the garrison, such as the very popular Little Devil Avial. I remember very clearly that I also have some. After all, Italian Little Lolita are quite rare in the game, so I kept them all. Such as the Destroyer Veneto, the Little Angel Camicia, the Little Devil Avial, the Salty Fish King Antonio, Beijing-style Ugolini. I initially decided to try to salvage vampires, but it was just a matter of reputation persuasion. Vampires are difficult. If you have enough time, you might be able to do it, but currently we don't have time. However, before giving it a try, how could Sugu give up so easily? As long as there is no admiral, everything is possible. I brought a lot of candies over there, and on the way I thought about who the vampire had a bond with in history, and I didn't have any ideas for a long time. When I arrived at the Kanyang headquarters, I explained the situation first. Then everyone will no longer have classes. I will take everyone away. Thank you for your continued help. Then he received an education. After all, he had the reputation of being a hateful admiral who abandoned his ship girl. After finishing the serious business, Sugu blended into the group of Little Lolita as if nothing had happened. He said to the vampire, "You must be their friend, but it's a pity that we are going to the east." He said something briefly and pretended not to mention it. Have vampires ever seen the cherry blossoms in the east? They are in full bloom this season. There is a tall cherry tree beside the railway, and the falling cherry blossoms dye the surrounding area white. Have vampires ever seen heavy snow? The goose feather snow turns the whole world white and wraps it in silver, and then everyone lies in the open air hot spring. Chuangziu always lights up fireworks during festivals, and the trees and silver flowers bloom all day long. Tirelessly, but before he could say the last sentence, someone said it for him. The boss of the ship girl headquarters came over, picked up a chocolate, unwrapped it and ate it. While sucking it, he said, "Are you going to say something next, vampire? Come to our guardhouse when you have the opportunity, I will show you one time. You must have abducted Missouri like this. Your admiral's reputation is quite impressive." After saying this, she kept sitting next to him, which made Sugu feel really embarrassed. After finishing speaking intermittently, still deflated on the little loli, the vampire shook his head. He, I want to give you a blood test to see what your intentions are. I won't go anywhere, unless my sister goes with me. No less than Cushing, it can be said that Princeton played an important role in the little loli. However, this time, my little Lolita said that she was a friend of the vampire, but she was just a friend. The person closest to the vampire is the person who brought her out of the sea in the ship girl headquarters. Unless you can fish out the so-called sister who fished out the vampire, and then give the vampire a gift, otherwise the possibility is too low, and at least it will take a lot of hard work. He died before leaving the army, which made the hero burst into tears. Ginger and fish cakes were not around. Although they were Hood's reserved pets, the little loli took them away as soon as he said they would. In fact, the reason lies in Sugu, who became a bear parent. In the past, the little Lolita wanted to take away the ginger and fish cakes, but Huda didn't want to. Now the little Lolita can run to Sugu and complain. For him, it's natural. Hood, if they want a hug, they can give it to them. Let them, they won't play bad tricks. Hood was helpless. Venus took away the fish cakes, and the ginger was in Legion's hands. She could only read a book, sit on the wicker chair by the window and enjoy the sea breeze and sunshine. The melodious sound of bagpipes and piano was faintly heard. Looking out the window, one could see the Unicorn and Belfast sitting in the garden playing, and then Edinburgh was conducting in a self-righteous manner. Not far away from them, the Royal Ark was drawing its bow and became fierce. The Royal Oak could not be seen from the hall, so she ran to rest. Sirius stood in front of the calendar thoughtfully, not knowing what to think about. Counterattack, she took a pear and peeled it with a knife. As a ship girl, she would not be easily injured, so she was still cautious in her movements. After returning home, Sugu sat on the sofa and took the pear handed to him. Although I already knew the result, after working so hard, there was no hope at all, and my expression was a little melancholy and discouraged. But after all, there are many cute and healing little Lolita around. If you can't catch them, you can't catch them. They're not submarines anyway. Sugu stroked M1's beautiful long wavy hair lying on his lap, looking at Somares, who was a little bit of a middle school student, holding a gun in one hand and a scripture in the other. As soon as I raised my phone, the scriptures would turn pages. When I put my hands down, the scriptures would also stop. The little loli enjoyed it so much that her smile infected him, and he started to smile a little bit. The little loli is so cute, and M1 is the cutest. Admiral, give me a pear. Without hesitation, Sugu reached out and put the pear in front of M1. The little loli took a small bite and said, Admiral, I bit the place where you just ate. Did we kiss indirectly? Sugu patted the little loli's head, little idiot. Looking at Legion holding Ginger, he didn't pay attention at first, but then he realized that Ginger was unexpectedly a little fat. Sugu asked funnily, Legion, why do you think Zhang Zhang is so fat? Not fat. Legion raised the ginger in his hand. The cat, which was originally a little chubby, now looks very long. Sugu said, you have to put it down, not lift it up. Hood retorted from the side, Ginger is not fat on one side. Immediately, Legion put Ginger on the coffee table, she seems to be really fat. Why? The curled up Ginger had fatness that it did not have at this age, and Hood became speechless. There was something evil in Sugu's heart, thinking, Hood, you feed Ginger so much because you want your breasts to get bigger. After thinking about it, Sugu said to the little loli, it's so fat because it's an orange cat. Do you know why orange cats are so fat? Eat more. The little loli is just innocent and doesn't have so many ideas. The brain teaser that I had already thought of was useless, because the big orange is the most important thing. Sugu has never raised a cat, but at least he has tried raising cats on the internet, which is nothing more than watching people showing off cats every day. I really like those chubby cats. Although I know that being fat is unhealthy for cats, I still like those cats that are as fat as pigs. After playing with the little Lolita for a while, Sugu was happy at first, but soon Sugu encountered a problem. The main reason, Ziyian suddenly said, Teacher Nuremberg said that if someone asks us to attack, we can't just agree. If we suppress the deep-sea ship girl, we must receive a reward. But Teacher Nuremberg said again, don't you ask us to do good deeds, leave your name and help others without asking for payment. After a pause, as the Admiral Sugu actually understood it deeply, he said, good things can also be divided into small things and big things. He first told everyone briefly about the story of the promotion of rice and the fight for rice, and then told the story of Zigong's redemption of people. Even if you are doing good deeds, there are some things that you cannot do casually. If you do it once at the beginning, the consequences will be disastrous. The teacher told us that we should not attack when encountering danger, but must retreat and return. But everyone said that those sisters who sank without retreating or returning to protect the city are heroes. Sugu hesitated for a moment, this kind of matter is very complicated, let's leave it to the Admiral to solve it. The Legion thinks they're stupid. Sugu remembered a passage he had read online before and said, if the sky is always dark, then survive in the night, if making sound is dangerous, then remain silent, if you feel unable to shine, then crouch in the dark corner, but don't defend the darkness when you are used to it, don't be proud of your own obscurity, don't mock those who are braver than yourself. We can be as humble as dust, but we cannot be twisted like maggots. It wasn't until Sugu finished speaking that Legion defended himself, I didn't say anything. I just felt it shouldn't be done. I just tried my best. Sugu felt that he was good at debating, but even so, he was stuck on the question. This is a question from Akasta. Legion was naughty in class, but once she answered a question correctly, the teacher praised her and even gave her a piece of candy. I was able to answer the question every time and worked very hard. But there has never been a reward. There is another problem. Zeze and I work with my sister in the gendarmerie. A good person makes a mistake once. Everyone remembers that he made a mistake and said he was hypocritical. In fact, he is a bad person and a hypocrite. A bad person did a good thing. Everyone says that the prodigal son never changes his mind, that his conscience is still intact, and that he is actually not bad at heart. Why is it so strange? In fact, it can also be explained by the relationship between love and hatred. However, it was really difficult for Sugu to explain it for a while, and he gave answers intermittently. After answering the little loli's questions, Sugu felt that his three views were quite upright. Sirius didn't like to talk, so he spoke this time. Is the admiral working as a teacher in the governor's mansion? No, I'm the admiral. There are too many people in the main garrison who can be teachers, so I won't get involved. London currently teaches housekeeping, flower arrangement, and etiquette. There is Fletcher in the training class, but she is the only one in the destroyer who doesn't. He is considered a primary school student. His culture includes Tianlong and Long Tian. Basically no one in the guarding mansion asks such messy questions. Even if they occasionally do, they ask Helena first, and then Lexington, and it is basically not my turn to ask. Ask mine, on the contrary, are all weird questions. In the guardhouse, most of the time, destroyers only need to be played, and then various things are taught in class. I specially bought destroyer-specific teaching materials from Chuangziu Academy. Hood suddenly said, remember the admiral said that our townhouse is not big. We still made a lot of money by running a company. We can renovate the townhouse when we return. That money is your money. You can spend it yourself. The governor's office has its own money, Sugu replied. This was a matter of attitude. After finishing her work on reputation, she spoke, our money is also a town hall. Don't say anything. Taking our money will set a bad example. This is a family, and no one will distinguish you and me so clearly. We are not human beings, we are ship girls. There is no admiral, and there is no us. Just like parents raise their children without expecting anything in return, ship girls do the same to the garrison. Children still need to support their parents in their old age. Sugu saw reputation smile, it's just that compared to the parents' efforts, the children's returns are too small. Admiral, please take more care of us. After discussing it with reputation, nothing happened. At this time, she was no longer in the hall, and there was only the little loli beside her. Under M1's coquettishness, Sugu sang a world-destroying children's song to the little Lolita, I have a beautiful wish. When I grow up, I can sow the sun so one is enough, and it will produce many, many suns. One for the Antarctic, one for the Arctic Ocean, one for hanging in the winter, one for the night, one for the night. However, the little loli didn't understand the deeper meaning. Sugu remembered that he had suffered a big loss at the ship girl headquarters. He thought again and sang a simple song, the sun is shining in the sky, and the flowers are smiling at me. The little bird says morning, 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 why are you carrying a bag of explosives? I went to blow up the school, but the teacher didn't know. As soon as I pulled the string, I ran away, and the school disappeared with a bang. Unexpectedly or not unexpectedly, Sugu suddenly heard a noise. He turned around and saw a strange girl walking over. The girl muttered, he still knows how to come back, why doesn't he die? You obviously keep talking about the admiral. It's not. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 596. I just sang a nursery rhyme to the little Lolita and was eating the snacks that Sheng Sheng brought me. The head maid is no longer with her at home. After all, there is no danger here. Give the owner the necessary space, and she knows this very well. However, even if she is not around, she knows very well when it is time to bring drinks and when it is time to bring snacks, and she takes good care of people. Hearing the noise, Sugu turned around and immediately saw a strange girl coming over. The girl was wearing a black dress. She was not tall and her figure was not explosive, but her face was pretty and cute. The long hair should be said to be white, but with a slight pink tint. Sugu only had time to look up and down, and the little loli sitting next to him waved and shouted, "Sister Chaser. Don't say you've already come here, but the reputation has introduced a lot of things. Back in the garrison, I had already learned about it from the mouth of Royal Oak, who liked to be drowsy." In fact, there was no need for the little girl to shout out. Sugu could recognize that this was his own light aircraft carrier, the Chaser, if he gave her some time. He raised his hand and immediately said hello, but the pursuer standing opposite didn't even call out Admiral, he just glanced at him, then snorted coldly and left. The person who came with the pursuer was Edinburgh. She grinned at Sugu and said, "The pursuer is angry. Admiral, what are you going to do?" As she spoke, the girl raised her hands and ran away quickly. Among all the little Lolita girls, Venus showed a mysterious smile, while M1 sat next to Sugu, swinging her legs and asking with some confusion, "What's wrong with Sister Chaser?" Sugu looked at the pursuer's back as he turned around and left, thinking that he must be angry. After all, he had been gone for such a long time. Although the relationship between the admiral and the ship's wife is inseparable, just as parents and children can get angry, wives and husbands can also be at odds. Of course the admiral will get angry if he does something wrong. Ship girls tend to be more soft-hearted than admirals. Once a quarrel breaks out and they decide not to talk to each other, ship girls are usually the first to take the initiative to talk to the admiral because they can't stand it. For example, while guarding the mansion, he and his sister-in-law Saratoga had disagreements over some matters. It was only at noon that he dropped the sentence, "Stop talking to me, I will never pay attention to you again." He ran up to you before the afternoon, and then started to slander Richelieu, "Wear a one-shoulder shirt and expose all your shoulders, you shameless vixen." This is of course due to the fact that my sister-in-law is inherently cheerful and free-spirited, and does not get really angry easily. Let's replace the sister-in-law with someone else. Well, speaking of it, Sugu won't easily make people angry. When a quarrel is about to start, he will immediately change the topic instead of letting the quarrel happen. After all, he knows very well that men and women think differently. Men are reasonable, but girls care more about "you actually yelled at me." So it can be said that the only person who was very angry was the Prince of Wales, whom he met for the first time. It was difficult for Sugu to handle his identity as an admiral at first, but in the end it was the Prince of Wales who took the initiative to break the ice. Now that he has easily assumed the role of admiral, and the pursuer is angry, Sugu will naturally not wait for the girl to take the initiative to reconcile. Now that the girl has left, you should get up and catch up with her, say some witty words or whatever. Suguki stood up, looked at the little Lolita sitting in a neat row on the bench, and said, "I'm leaving first. There are basically no chasers in the game. I only know that chasers are very rare, and then I don't pay much attention to them. Ship girls who inherit the soul of the same battleship have similar personalities, just like every Lexington has the personality of a married woman, but they are different in details, and their personalities will change based on different life experiences. This bit of information is very useful in gaining favor with the ship girl. No matter who Bismarck is, it is best to remain serious in front of her. If it's Saratoga, it's best to try to keep up with the girl's pace. As a rare light aircraft carrier chaser, Nay, he does not have much information here, and his character is not recorded in detail. Leaving the beach, Sugu walked into the villa. He suddenly saw a figure disappearing in the shadow of the trees in the garden in front. I was wondering who was staring at me, and then I saw counter-attack coming over with 2 plates of snacks in each hand. "Are you out?" Sugu-shun asked. He remembered that there were no snacks at home, and Sheng Sheng had been busy with other things. He countered, "This is brought back by the pursuers." "How is she now?" "Where is she?" "Garden." Fighting back, he pursed his lips and looked to the side. Sugu followed his gaze and looked over. Under the small pavilion in the garden, Hood was holding a cup of black tea. Chaser, Edinburgh, and Sirius were all sitting next to him. Chaser was holding Ginger and seemed to be chatting with Hood, while Hood was smiling dignifiedly. Sugu walked over, picked an empty seat and sat down. He saw the disdainful look in his pursuer's eyes and heard another cold snort. Now that the girl was angry, he could only take the initiative to talk and apologize, but the pursuer just wrinkled his nose. After thinking about changing the topic, Sugu said, "I've been here for a few days and I heard that you went out to play. Do you want to say that I don't work and go out for a trip?" The pursuer pouted, "Compared to you running off to nowhere, I work hard every day and it doesn't matter if I go out for a few days." Sugu said, "You can go out to play anytime you want. I support it." The pursuer said dissatisfiedly, "What does it matter whether you support it or not?" Sugu didn't answer and asked himself, "Where have you been? Who do you think you are?" "I don't want to say." He, "I went to my friend's house, and then I met the deep-sea ship girl. I was able to come back a few days ago, and I only helped you now," the pursuer finally explained himself. "Even if you try to flatter someone, this applies to everyone." Sugu said, "I heard that you have become very powerful. The deep-sea ship girl should be able to handle it easily." The pursuer recalled that the battles these days were actually not easy, but his expression showed no timidity at all. "It was solved easily. After all, I took action. Let me tell you, I didn't work hard just because you only like aircraft carriers, I just wanted to become stronger." Seeing the girl staring at him, thinking that she seemed to have a difficult personality, Sugu chuckled and reached for a piece of the exquisite snacks on the round table. Before he put it into his mouth, the pursuer said, "I didn't buy these snacks for you. You bought it because you promised M1, Somares and the others to buy them candies and snacks, and I didn't even know you were coming over. I don't know what day you went out. I have said everything about your reputation." But now that he had experience in dealing with girls of various personalities, Sugu knew what was going on and was not ready to tell the truth. "Really?" The pursuer said, "The macarons are sweet and greasy, the cheesecake is salty." The girl kept introducing all the snacks on the round table, and then when she saw Sugu put the snacks in his hands into his mouth without thinking at all, she said angrily, "Heavy taste." Sugu ate the snacks, which tasted very good, and asked, "How long can these snacks be kept? What do you want to say?" No need to answer, Sugu knew it himself, there is definitely no way to take him back to the guardhouse. The pursuer crossed his arms and said, "I won't just go back with you." Sugu said, "But everyone should go back." Hood was still able to keep smiling, and Edinburgh finally couldn't help it anymore. She said from the side, "I have already told the Admiral that you had already packed your luggage, and then told us that we must never leave you behind. Alas, alas, if you don't want to go back, don't go back, it doesn't matter." In fact, she didn't say anything to Sugu beforehand. The pursuer stood up suddenly, his face flushed. You, don't talk nonsense." Hood also nodded, and the pursuer shouted, Hood, senior, even if you are a senior, you can't frame people casually." Sirius nodded again, and finally the pursuer looked dangerously at Sugu. Although it was only for a short time, Sugu completely understood that the pursuer was probably really angry when he was angry, and the girl's character was completely arrogant. The breasts are barely adequate, but you still lack blonde twin tails and small fangs. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 597. Venus is flying a kite on the beach, her movements are very gentle and delicate. Compared to her younger sister Akasta, who is used to keeping a straight face, Zhenzi seems to be much more energetic. She was walking barefoot on the beach when her eyes suddenly lit up and she bent down to pick up a red starfish, then stood up and showed off to the legions. Legion, look what I picked up. A starfish. Legion was carrying a blue bucket. She and Zinzin initially planned to pick up shells on the beach. In fact, they threw shells, crabs, starfish, and beautiful stones into the bucket. The sea was never calm, and the tide suddenly rose. The tide covered their feet, and the little loli giggled. Not only was it fun, but it was also because they discovered the little fish jumping on the beach. Sure enough, it should be said that human nature is inherently evil. Well, it is just a very common thing, and there is no such thing as evil or good. In short, they did not pick up the small fish and throw them into the sea to release them. Instead, they bent down to pick up the small fish one by one and put them into the small bucket, enjoying themselves endlessly. Put your hands up and spread your legs, like walking on horseback. I don't understand, it looks like me. Somerez imitated Sugu's movements and continued, how to dance. Just move your hands up and down, and your feet too, and then sway from side to side. Under the small pavilion by the beach, Sugu was teaching Somerez how to become an outstanding shaman. Before that, he had taught the little Lolita how to say to people, Mother Earth is fooling you. However, the aspect involving shaman dancing was blocked. No matter what, Somerez couldn't understand it. After all, she was really a little loli. She used to only play tricks. Sugu could actually give a demonstration, but he just thought it would be okay to pose. There were so many people around, making people dance like they did in the show they had seen before, so forget it. It's fun to fool little Lolita, but it's not worth it to hook yourself up. M1 was sitting on a stone bench and leaning on the table, working hard on folding paper, and so was the pursuer. So speaking of the girl's purely arrogant character, she originally just came over to take a look. When she saw Sugu folding paper, she made a sound of disdain. Then I heard Sugu simply say, "Can you fold it?" Then look at the many kinds of paper airplanes that Sugu folded for M1 like a show-off at the beginning. In addition, there are also small paper boats and paper boats. In fact, he also wanted to make origami frogs, paper cranes and paper baskets, but he had already forgotten how to fold them. The pursuer suddenly became angry and said, "Of course I can." In fact, she couldn't do it at all. Anyway, she was determined and vowed not to give up until she found something more magical. While Somerez was still making some weird moves, M1 finally folded the paper airplane. She picked up the paper airplane and threw it far away, shouting, "Admiral, pick it up." Sugu didn't move at all, he was too lazy to move. In the end, M1 could only pouted and ran to pick it up. However, Sugu-shun picked up a paper airplane and threw it out, shouting, "M1 pick it up." Suddenly a gust of sea breeze blew up, and the paper plane suddenly flew very high due to the sea breeze. The little loli raised her head and exclaimed. The sea breeze blew the paper airplane far away. Sugu wanted M1 to pick it up, but the little loli ignored him at all. He originally didn't want to care about it, it was just a paper airplane, but after thinking about it he decided to go and pick it up himself. The place where we live is in the suburbs, and there is a downhill slope along the road. Sugu chased the paper plane to the roadside. Suddenly he saw a girl wearing a white dress and wavy golden hair walking down the slope carrying a railing box. He noticed that it was picked up on the ground. Paper airplane. She was still a little far away and couldn't see her face clearly, but the girl gave people a demure and gentle feeling. Sugu walked over, but the sea breeze never stopped, but became more and more violent. He saw the girl stopped, pursed her lips, stretched out her hand to hold the blown long hair, took a deep breath and smiled. Admiral. This is how the battle cruiser Glorious met his own ship girl. Sugu thought the picture was beautiful and the glory was also beautiful. When I was on the mission, I kept thinking whether the Admiral would come over. When I returned to the company, I saw that no one was there. Reputation was not there, Sirius was not there, and everyone was not there. I knew that the Admiral must be here, so I hurried back. The battle cruiser Glorious was originally fished out during the Valkyrie event. Due to the excellent vertical painting, of course I was very happy to place the secretary ship soon. Every Kang girl is beautiful or cute, but because everyone has different aesthetics, there are still differences between good and bad. Sugu turned his head and looked at Guangrong. As he liked it in the game, it also felt very beautiful here. He said, "We have been here for a few days, and the pursuer came back 2 days ago. Isn't that why everyone is just waiting for me? It's holding me back." Sugu said, "No, we still have to wait for someone. Missouri has been away for a long time. It was originally agreed to come back before the end of the month, but now there are only a few days until the end of the month, which is worrying. All we have to do next is wait for her. It's too inconvenient to have instant communication like a mobile phone. At the same time, we still don't know what the situation is on her side. She can't just abscond with her equipment." Of course Guangrong didn't know about Missouri. She expressed doubts, "Is the reputation gone?" Sugu explained, "No, reputation has almost settled all the company's affairs. Well, when Royal Oak returned to the townhouse, I knew your situation. She and I fought back, and Missouri. Battleship the Missouri is not her former companion, and she has just joined our garrison not long ago. She knows the people at the nearby ship girl headquarters, and she wanted to see if she could get some news about her former companion. Then she went out for many days and has not come back yet." Guangrong nodded to express his confession. "She dragged the trolley suitcase, running over the stones with both wheels, and the whole suitcase was trembling. I went to many cities on missions and bought many gifts. There are gifts for the Admiral in them, but if you don't come, wait until we return to the garrison. There definitely aren't any more." "What gift?" "Actually, it's just ordinary stuff." Sister Guangrong the little lowly rushed over. Of course they saw Sugu and Guangrong walking back. Sister Guangrong M1 hugged Guangrong's legs. Although she sometimes acted like a little slut, the little lowly who would say, "I'm still a kid, so I need to go to bed early before going to bed at night," was super cute. Sheng Sheng came out with a plate, and she saw Guangrong raising his hand to say hello. Then everyone returned to the villa together, and Guangrong placed the trolley suitcase next to the coffee table. "The gifts for you are in the box. You can pick them out yourself. I'm going to take a shower, and then reputation will help me prepare some resources. It doesn't cost much, it's just a scratch," Guangrong mumbled as he walked upstairs. "The original suit was burned and I can't keep it anymore, the skirt is really inconvenient to wear." The little lowly here couldn't wait to open the box and take out things. In addition to specialty foods, there are all kinds of trinkets, including cheap-looking bracelets, lace hairbands, headbands, sunglasses, brown straw hats, etc., as well as a beautifully crafted watch, a small dagger, and a music box. Venus took the headband and put it on, while M1 was lying on the sofa holding the music box and shaking his legs. As soon as the music box is opened and the clockwork is turned, 2 little figures are dancing inside, and there is beautiful music. A gentle, demure lady, this is Sugu's impression of Guangrong. He had a good impression of Guangrong. Soon after he came back from outside and heard the news about Guangrong, Ark Royal was sighing, as if he was in big trouble. So I didn't want to come over at all. Glory is too troublesome. Sugu expressed doubts, and Edinburgh fiddled with the small dagger, you'll find out later. Curiosity killed the cat. Sugu wanted to ask again, but he was entangled by the little loli. Admiral, do you think this looks good? Needing resources, it was obvious that I met the deep-sea ship girl on the way to the mission. Rather than taking a shower, it is better to say entering a canal. In fact, it didn't take much time. After all, the Glory was only a passing one, and the level was not high. She just came down from upstairs and changed into a neat uniform, a short cake skirt, black silk stockings, and over-the-knee white boots. Just like in the game, but without the sword. The gentle lady became heroic, like a knight. Dignified and elegant, Hood also has another side. He becomes vicious when talking about Bismarck, becomes aggrieved and cute when talking about stuffed cats, and becomes full of pride when talking about the British Empire. Glory also has another side, which I encountered in the afternoon, which made people feel that their whole belief had collapsed. The Royal Ark stood on the seaside, arranging a bow and shooting arrows. The English longbow she used was glorious and enthusiastic. Acasta stood not far away and watched. Sugu walked over and said gloriously, "The Royal Ark is so handsome." "Yeah, very heroic. Aircraft carriers are awesome. As long as there are B-25 bombers. Let's not think about air control and so on. Let's not talk about how many bumblebees are crying silently. In the game, there are 24 B-25 aircraft carrier groups, and the only ones that can limit them are Lafite, submarines, and Telugu. In short, under normal circumstances, no matter what kind of activity, they will all be blown up for you to see. After the transformation of Akagi in the guardhouse, he learned how to better control the air. In the game, the aircraft carrier brigade with Akagi as its flagship destroyed the world. Guangrong said, even without the B-25 bomber, the aircraft carrier is invincible. Sugu paused, thinking that in the garrison, capital ships such as battleships and battle cruisers believed that aircraft carriers were not good and could only exist as escorts. Big ships and huge cannons were the truth. Then the aircraft carrier generally believes that the battleship was taken away by a wave of grass cutting. This point cannot be reconciled. Wanting to complain that you were betraying the camp, Sugu said, "Glory is a battle cruiser." Guangrong touched Zeze and Acasta's heads. "Did I come from a battle cruiser or an aircraft carrier?" Acasta clapped Glorious' hand and said, "You are a battle cruiser." Sugu suddenly felt that Guangrong's glamorous appearance, perfect lady, and heroic knight was a bit silly. Then he heard Guangrong say, "Rather than being a battle cruiser, I still want to be an aircraft carrier and fly carrier-based aircraft." Just as you fell in love with Lexington and learned about the history of the Lexington while playing the game, the same goes for Glory. Sugu knew that in history, Glory was indeed transformed from a battle cruiser into an aircraft carrier. According to experience, if Glory was transformed, the ship type would definitely change. As the wind blew, Sugu thought about the past little by little. Glorious is the only regular aircraft carrier in history that was directly sunk by a battleship in an artillery battle. The murderers were the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau sisters. Then I thought of a little anecdote. I don't know whether it should be a setting or an error. It should be regarded as a mistake. After all, it was corrected later. Glorious' first appearance line, his subordinate is the second ship of the Brave-class aircraft carrier, the Glorious. The sea area where I am present will never be trampled by enemy ships. Probably. There are too many similarities between the game and reality. It just so happens that the girl in the game's illustration has the same mother as Quincy, so you can't say Glory. Just as Ark Royal drew his bow and shot an arrow towards the sea, he said gloriously, "Why didn't it become a carrier-based aircraft?" Sugu said, "It's probably because it doesn't have a carrier-based aircraft. I went to ask the unicorn to get the swordfish back. She is just practicing archery and is not planning to fly the carrier-based aircraft." Sugu thought of the archery fighting skills in the anti-Japanese drama, and the gun fighting skills. Guangrong said seriously, "As the raiders grew up, they changed from light carriers to regular aircraft carriers. ISE and Hyaga were originally battleships and became aviation battleships. If I grow up, I will become an aircraft carrier." The pursuers release carrier-based aircraft through the flight deck. The unicorn turned into a carrier-based aircraft through a bird, and the Ark Royal turned into a carrier-based aircraft through archery. And in my case, I don't have a flight deck, but I have a sword, and I can use the sword energy to turn into a carrier-based aircraft? Or do you think it's past? It would be better to blast out the artillery and turn it into a carrier-based aircraft, which would have both a big ship, a huge cannon and a carrier-based aircraft. Historically, the Glorious became an aircraft carrier, removed its main guns, and then installed all anti-aircraft guns and anti-aircraft machine guns, adopted a multi-section flight deck, and rebuilt a double-layer hangar. Guangrong said, "The Admiral knows a lot. It's okay, I studied hard in the academy." I had already told him my experiences along the way in advance, so there was no need to explain more at this point. Guangrong put a finger to his lips. "Admiral, does he know? Guangrong is a secret weapon. It's no secret anymore. The Valorant-class battlecruiser has historically been extremely secretive from development to manufacturing, but now there is no secret at all." After a conversation, Sugu felt that Guangrong was a little stupid and really ruined his image. However, just at night, Sugu's influence on Guangrong soon changed again. Whether it's stupidity or Kunrong, it doesn't matter. I don't know what he was thinking. He probably didn't care about himself as an admiral, or he didn't even think about the fact that there was an extra man in the family. Anyway, Guangrong changed into a pair of slightly thin silk pajamas at night. Sugu finally remembered that he, in addition to the excellent vertical painting, a large part of the reason why I had a good impression of Glory was. There's nothing better than a glorious otaku wearing sexy lingerie, and as long as you have this, you can accept anything. Guangrong is so beautiful, I love you. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 598. While Sugu and others were waiting, Missouri actually finished the work early. She did not go back directly, but went to find Hindenburg first. After all, the mission was not completed yet. At this time, she was sitting casually on the cable pile beside the pier, hugging a small destroyer who was watching the fun next to her. She stretched out her hand to rub her face. Her face was not as soft as Xiao's eyes at all. She let go of her hand, and the little destroyer lowly quickly walked away. Although there was no sun, she wore her sunglasses rather coquettishly, then took off her sunglasses and hung them on the collar of her shirt, saying, "Hindenburg, you are waiting for the captain." His short gray hair stuck to his face due to being soaked in water. Hindenburg, who was wearing a windbreaker, was wearing a full-on ship suit. The cold and ferocious ship suit was equipped with cat cannons and Type 91 armor-piercing projectiles. She was standing on the sea, with her feet as the center of the circle, and ripples swayed in circles. Crossing his arms, Hindenburg asked, "What do you mean?" She always had a hard time keeping up with Missouri. Missouri crossed her legs, leaned over slightly, and said, "I know a sister who looks pretty good and dresses very fashionably. She has never married, saying that she wants to marry someone she likes. Because she has never found one, she has been waiting until she was still unmarried at the age of 34. Her family, friends, and neighbors introduced many people to her, but she was not satisfied with them. Others told her that she was getting older and would have to make do if she didn't get married. But she never gave up. Finally, when she was 37 years old, she met a rich and handsome captain who was worth 380, and they fell in love at first sight. Because of someone's relationship, Missouri knows a lot more than before, and is much better at irony. He understood the whole text, but he was just a little confused. Hindenburg didn't understand why and said, "You mean captain, the one who flies a plane? And what do 380 mean?" Missouri stretched out his palm and curled his thumb into the palm, 180 square meters. House. Missouri pursed her lips, not expecting Hindenburg to answer, yes. Hindenburg was stunned for a moment. She just said it casually without thinking that she was right. At first, I thought these 380 represented some amazing power, strength, and wealth, but I didn't expect that they were just such ordinary things. She said, "It's not much, just 180. If I just think about it, I can easily afford a house worth 1,800. Missouri frowned and said, "It's not much for you, mainly because you are a ship girl. For ordinary people, this is enough, this is already a lot." Hindenburg didn't care. Her character was a bit careless, but this time she was always called silly. She asked, "What does the remaining 2 mean 180? 180 centimeters. Height." Hindenburg stood upright and looked heroic. This time her expression became mocking, 180 centimeters is not high. Missouri said, "You can't just look at yourself, you have to look at it dialectically. Easterners and Westerners are different." "Okay, what do you mean by the remaining 180? Missouri gave a teasing smile, 180 millimeters. After saying this, she stopped talking and didn't say any more, feeling that it would have a bad impact. She heard this from Bizai Boring, of course, Bizai also heard it from someone. After all, the couple can talk about anything. However, Lao Siji really didn't have much concept of private conversations, which resulted in someone being called a hooligan. In short, listen to what Beizai showed off about 380, Pandonkey and Deng Xiaoxian, which are the scoring standards for men, and women are white and rich, with beautiful waist, breasts, sound, smart legs, which are the scoring standards for girls, and then it is obvious that he can score perfectly. Compared to Missouri, Hindenburg was as pure as a flower, and she couldn't think of any meaning for a long time. She wanted to continue asking, but Missouri did not answer, and just said, "So Hindenburg, you are waiting for the captain. First of all, you need a young and handsome admiral, and he must pamper you 100%. The garrison must also be super if you have money. There are so many Mk7s, Mk6s, cat cannons, and Type 91 armor-piercing bullets in the warehouse that you can't even put them in." Tisk, 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 you're overthinking it? Speaking of this, Missouri suddenly thought that for the ship girl, it didn't matter whether there were many people in the guarding mansion, and most even thought that the more people, the better. He also has an indifferent attitude towards the admiral's multiple marriages. As long as the admiral still likes him, that's enough. Even if he doesn't like himself anymore, as long as he likes him, it's enough. If there are enough people in the garrison, and the equipment carried by everyone is included, it can be said to be very powerful, so the admiral of the garrison can also be regarded as the captain in a sense. She chuckled. Seeing that Hindenburg didn't speak, Missouri continued, "Don't become a leftover woman of mankind. No one can look down on you. No one can look down on you." At this point, Hindenburg finally understood what the captain meant. This meant that he was being too picky. She said, "I am the only one who looks down on them, and they don't look down on me. Who am I? I am Hindenburg, the battleship Hindenburg. Those boring people classified us into 3, 6, or 9 grades, and then I am a 6-star lottery bottom boat." Hindenburg is not bragging at all. As a powerful battleship, even one of the best garrison buildings in the world cannot be obtained casually. If you want to join anyone's garrison, as long as you don't make any truly excessive requests, you will never be rejected. Missouri put his hands on his knees and looked at the sky in the distance. Yes, yes, yes. This time, she was bound to win the boat. This silly elder sister had no objection to joining the garrison, but she chose to deal with it. Just press her to the ground and rub her, and everything would be fine. This is the only one among so many people I know. How I want to see this guy being brutally tortured by Xiaozai. It's uncomfortable to be the only one in trouble, so it's best to drag someone into the water alone. You don't have to be rich, just be richer than your neighbors. It doesn't matter if you are unlucky, as long as someone is more unlucky than yourself. Everyone likes to compare, and being a ship girl is no exception. Thinking about how to stir up the topic, Missouri said, I'm leaving tomorrow, and I'm going back to the town hall next. Feeling the power in his body and suddenly hearing such bad news, he was stunned. Hindenburg said, Are you leaving tomorrow? Reluctant that the child could not trap the wolf, he lent the equipment to Hindenburg in advance. Now that it was finally time to harvest, Missouri said, Don't think about delaying it any longer. I have given you the equipment to play with for many days. What else do you want? If I were not familiar with you, I wouldn't let anyone else touch this kind of equipment. I know some of the garrison and ship girls who have a lot of money, including Admiral Eugene, the ship girl who runs a company, the Queen Elizabeth, the cat cannon. If you sell it to them, do you know how much it can sell for? The two said they didn't want to deal with each other, but they once worked in a combat team together, and even went to the east together to participate in the battle to suppress the deep-sea Yamato. In fact, they were all comrades in arms and friends. Hindenburg was not a mindless idiot. If he really disliked others, he would only give them cold looks, so how could he follow the drill? This kind of behavior is mainly because the relationship has reached a certain level and you can joke around freely. It has been several days since I got this equipment. In the past, those enemies who were wandering around the sea and only posing little threat to the route were ignored. This time, they ran over to suppress them. The feeling of crushing them was so satisfying. Some people always say that there is no use in being so strong, as long as it is enough. This is just the self-comfort of losers. If possible, the more money, the better, and the bigger the guns, the better. It is easy to go from frugality to luxury, but it is difficult to go from luxury to frugality. I have experienced it and I am not willing to let it go anymore. I really don't want to give the equipment out, and it has been delayed for a day. Missouri has already said that it will leave before the end of the month, so it can't be delayed any longer. In fact, Hindenburg had already known about Missouri's idea, but he was already trapped and had no choice, but joining the garrison. This probably doesn't matter to the little lowly destroyers, but to a ship girl like Hindenburg who has been around in society, this is a big deal. Missouri waved his hand. I didn't ask you to join the garrison, I just invited you to take a look. You also want to become stronger, and you want to practice with the strong. Hindenburg paused for a moment, all his anger subdued, and became hesitant. See if you can get the equipment. Missouri's face changed. The Enterprise said you were stupid, everyone said you were stupid, but you are not stupid at all, it's so beautiful. How can it be so cheap? If you don't join the garrison, you still want to get the equipment. Hindenburg's expression became cold again, and he stretched out a finger to pick up his bangs. Ha, at least I am a super powerful battleship. I must give your garrison a chance to salvage the ship, and there must be some expression. Missouri remembered the situation in the garrison and waved his hand. I'll be honest with you, our garrison really doesn't care about you. Do you know how many ship girls our garrison has? Do you know how many battleships and battle cruisers there are? One more of you is not too much, and one of you less is not a lot. I just want to see our friends and give you some support. Where can you find such a powerful garrison in the whole world? Hindenburg knew something about it. The garrison that suppressed 3 deep-sea flagships at the same time was not weak. The horn of the deep-sea tuba and the scythe of the deep-sea Zwikaku were still in the room. In the past, I might have been scornful, but just a few days ago, Missouri failed at the hands of Missouri, but Missouri itself admitted that it was not ranked high in the garrison. Missouri continued to confuse, what do you have to hesitate about? This is an opportunity. Hindenburg, what are you still worried about? Pressing harder and harder, Hindenburg suddenly shouted, that's enough for you, stop talking. I gave you the equipment, take it and get out. Missouri is not afraid, what are you worried about? Well, I understand. Yes, it is true. You know again? What do you know? Afraid, you are afraid. You have always mocked Bismarck and Tirpitz, fearing that you will fail at their hands. Am I afraid? Are you kidding me? Bismarck or Tirpitz, I will crush them and let them sing conquest at my feet. Then why are you talking so much? I'm afraid of conflict with your admiral. I will never compromise. Our admiral has a good temper. Missouri took a deep breath and said, okay, Hindenburg, don't look for excuses anymore. This is not my invitation to join our garrison. This is also your opportunity to see how big the world is. I will make the decision for our admiral, whether you join our garrison or not. I will give you this equipment to play with for a month, and arrange at least one person to practice with you every week. We will teach you a few tricks, and it will be enough for you. Don't be too little. If you have the ability, go and build a good relationship yourself, and then practice as many times a day as you want. Hindenburg said to himself, I'll think about it again. I'm not interested in joining the town government. If I want to go, I'll just go and play. I'll think about it again. Hindenburg fell into silence, and a smile gradually appeared on Missouri's lips, saying, Hindenburg, have you ever thought about it? Become stronger, and then find those British ships and push them to the ground. Tell them, you royals kill. Tell them that if you have practice, you will be great, and if you have equipment, you will be great. Missouri started to laugh, thinking, when you get to the town hall, it won't be up to you anymore, after all, you are already trapped. So if Hindenburg joins the garrison, what reward should he ask someone for? Xiaozai should at least sleep with him for one night and issue death orders in the name of the admiral. Then I will put the broken corner of Yamato Fukumai in my room and make a wooden shelf to put on the bedside table. So how to bully Hindenburg? Let's first say that Xiaozai is very weak, instruct her to practice, and make a bet beforehand. Then North Carolina, well, I was afraid that this little lowly would suddenly turn into a royal sister and cause trouble for me, so I forgot about it. South Dakota looks stupid, Hindenburg probably thought so too, so he started practicing, ha ha ha, there are many ways to play, so take your time. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 599. Have you really decided to leave? As the eldest sister of a very important branch under the ship girl headquarters, the blonde woman looked at her subordinates. Actually, I can't say subordinates. She knew very well that Hindenburg's combat power was much higher than hers, but he was not good at management. That's all, he also has no interest in power. The most important fighting force is about to leave to find the future. I started to feel uneasy when I came back from Missouri. Sure enough, something bad happened. I thought I was just bullying Hindenburg. I didn't expect to be tricked. I wanted to take the Hindenburg away and enjoy it slowly. Of course, we should try to persuade him to stay, but Hindenburg couldn't hear his opinion at all, so he had no choice but to let him go. However, he still had to make an attempt to persuade him to stay before leaving. I'm just going to take a look. As Hindenburg said this, she smiled and said there was no need to worry. From the bottom of her heart, she actually doesn't have many plans to join the guardhouse, at least for now. It was just that there was no way to refuse the temptation of those powerful equipment, even if it was destined not to belong to me. It would be nice to hold it for a little longer, so by chance, I agreed to go over and have a look. Anyway, you can choose to join or not to join at that time. If the conditions are really good, it doesn't matter if you join. If it doesn't work, just leave, no one dares to stop you. It's just that she didn't expect it. Missouri had thought of everything. It's okay for the Admiral. How to resist Lexington's tenderness is a big problem, even if he himself is defeated. Even if you have a weird personality, there are so many ship girls in the guarding mansion, there is always one that suits you. No, it should be said that you can always meet like-minded partners. In fact, for Missouri, she didn't mind that much at all. It would be best if you join the garrison, so that you can bully them in the future. Even if he didn't join the garrison in the end, at least he had been bullied and didn't suffer at all. He just wasted a little saliva. The blonde woman could see far away and said, "Hindenburg, let me remind you, do you believe what Missouri says?" Wearing a windbreaker and sunglasses, with long brown hair swaying slightly in the sea breeze, Missouri stood aside to protest, and retorted with righteous indignation, "Slander, I'm going to hit someone. Tell me, when will my words no longer be believed?" In essence, they should be friends, but they act like enemies. Hindenburg sneered at Missouri and snorted softly. Even if the ship suit was not opened, he could still feel the equipment on his body. The power contained in it was inextricable and no one could take it away. She said, "The equipment is already on my body. Since she promised me, she won't even think about it before the time comes." As a ship girl, she is the embodiment of beauty, kind-hearted at heart, but she is not someone who can be easily bullied. "Don't worry, I will do what I say." Missouri gave an affirmative answer. "Anyway, the equipment is just a gift to others." "All right." Suddenly a voice came over. I turned my head and saw that the car to see everyone off had parked, and the little girl who was acting as the driver came over. So Missouri raised her hand to the blonde woman and said, "We are leaving. Sister, please rest assured. I am very good to Hindenburg and will not train her." "Don't call me eldest sister." The blonde woman looked at Hindenburg again. "Did you hear that? It's not too late to regret it now." Hindenburg was very confident in herself. She said, "Is she worthy of training me?" We said a simple farewell, got in the car with our luggage, and decided to leave by passenger ship, so we had to go to the pier. Instead of directly deploying the ship and sailing over, Hindenburg had some doubts about this. "Let's deploy the ship and sail over." Missouri said seriously, "I am planning this for you. What if you run out of fuel if you don't exercise some restraint?" Just supplies. Hindenburg never considered this aspect of the problem. He went out and returned to the ship's headquarters. He didn't even need to say more. Someone would naturally send resources. Missouri smiled and said, "You didn't bring any resources, right? Where will you replenish the fuel when you run out?" "Let me tell you first, I don't have the resources to lend you." After being stunned for a moment, Hindenburg said, "Don't your garrison provide supplies?" Missouri was puzzled, and it became natural again. The resources of our garrison were not brought by strong winds. I suppressed the deep-sea flagship, and I went to the company to bargain for these resources. It took a long time to get some back. I didn't even mention the CD myself. And then you tell me, you want resources without doing anything? Tell me why our townhouse needs to provide supplies to unrelated personnel, even if you are a guest. Hindenburg's face turned ugly. "What did you say?" "In this case, I'm going to get off the car." Missouri said, "Can you please be reasonable?" "I'm just being unreasonable." "No, you're the one being unreasonable." "Okay, don't worry about the resource supply point. It's all right." Hindenburg nodded. How could an admiral pursue a ship girl without any effort at all? Even among ordinary people, unless two people don't ask for each other and are just friends going out together, unless they have become boyfriend and girlfriend and negotiate with each other, there is no A system. If you want to invite a girl out, you are reluctant to pay even a little bit of money, no matter in the East or the West, you are overthinking it. Besides, as a guest, the host's food and lodging must be covered. She was completely oblivious to the fact that Missouri had promised nothing. Humph, you ship girls who have joined the guardhouse, you can't bear to do this, you can't bear to do that, you are stingy. That's not the purpose. Missouri smiled and explained seriously. There were many magazines in her handbag. The purpose of taking the boat there, the short distance was okay, but crossing the sea took too much time. She also couldn't relax for a moment. There was no way she could have the leisure to read magazines slowly. She didn't be willing to waste time sailing. The car had already driven out of the ship girl's headquarters, and then drove into the city. Missouri was sitting behind the wheel. She flipped out a magazine and happened to see the driver's profile. The short-haired girl was so cute. She said smoothly, "We have many light cruisers in the town hall, Helena, San Juan, Leipzig." The driver girl turned back with a smile, "Miss Missouri, you are really enough." Hindenburg then shouted, "Shameless person." Seeing that Missouri ignored him, Hindenburg asked curiously, "What are you looking at?" "Magazine." "What magazine am I asking about?" "A regular fashion magazine." "Well, let's call your Admiral Sugu." "Right. That's it, get off the bus at the pier and board the boat with your ticket." It took a long time to wait for the boat to sail, starting from the morning to arriving at the destination in the afternoon. Although she only visited once, there was no roadblock in Missouri. She took Hindenburg on foot to the suburbs and returned before evening. Looking at the villa in front of him, Hindenburg asked, "Do you live here?" "Stay here temporarily." Soon after entering the villa, he saw only one man in the huge hall. He had short hair and an indescribable appearance. Hindenburg felt that he had a bit of prosopagnosia, as Oriental faces look similar. She was quite direct and asked, "Are you Sugu, the Admiral of Missouri?" Sugu was still discussing with Reputation. He didn't know that Missouri would come back and what transportation method should be chosen if everyone left. After discussing several plans, all of them were rejected, and then I saw Missouri bringing back a woman with short gray hair and a mad expression. He was confused at first, but when he saw Missouri winking at him, Sugu immediately realized that this was what Hindenburg had agreed to. He replied, "Yes, I am the Admiral of Missouri." Hindenburg sat down carelessly and looked around, and also looked at Sugu. "It doesn't look like it's powerful, but your garrison suppressed 3 deep-sea flagships. They attacked our garrison. We have no choice but to fight back. I heard from Missouri that you have Bismarck and Tirpitz in your garrison." "Have? How is your strength compared to mine?" "I really wanted to say that you are not even as good as Missouri, you were crushed by my sisters," but in the end he was still humble when facing strangers. Sugu said, "I don't know. I am Hindenburg. Under normal circumstances, we should introduce each other when we meet, and this matter belongs to Missouri, but she didn't." Without waiting for Sugu to introduce himself, Hindenburg looked to the side and asked, "I know you, who are they?" As soon as Hindenburg entered the door, he noticed everyone. They looked very beautiful. He thought they must be the ship girls. No one seemed to have any amazing aura. Her hair was wrapped in cloth and she was wearing a maid outfit. She must be a little maid. She had a cute and harmless face and was peeling an apple with a knife. Also wearing a maid outfit, she looks like the little maid's sister, wiping the cake cream off the little Loli's face. The man with long blonde hair and glasses had 2 cats sleeping on his legs together, a plump black cat and an orange cat. She looks very ladylike, but when she heard herself introducing herself, She had a strange expression on her face that she wanted to be beaten. Feeling naturally at odds with each other, Hindenburg nodded self-righteously, "They don't look very strong." Missouri saw that Sugu's expression changed slightly. She stretched out her finger and tapped her head, and spoke first, "Don't worry, Hindenburg just has no brains and no malice." "You have no brains," Hindenburg retorted. Sugu looked at Hindenburg again. The girl seemed not to care at all about what he said. He wasn't careless or meant to be sarcastic, but he still wanted to defend his ship girls, "They are very strong." Hindenburg was non-committal and asked curiously, "What kind of ship girls are they?" "The ceiling is white, a chandelier is down, and the little loli is very quiet when there are guests." Sugu gave Hindenburg a little introduction, starting with reputation, then counterattack, hood, and more. At first, everyone didn't care. After all, as a ship girl, they could still feel that Hindenburg was not scolding people with malice. However, when Sugu glanced at him, since the admiral had given the order, he could only show a little momentum. After all, he could not be underestimated. They all showed the momentum of facing a deep-sea ship girl, and the eyes of a hunter sizing up his prey. Reputation, hood, counterattack, glory, royal oak, ark royal, and... Sitting aside, Hindenburg shuddered as she remembered. "I've heard of it before. There is a company in the city across the sea, and then there is a very powerful battle cruiser Reputation and Hood. However, they are not interested in British ships and have no plans to come to ask for advice. It seems that they are the ones." Not only that, there were a few more people this time, and they were all British ships, and he seemed to have spoken rudely. "All the equipment has been returned, can we not go to the garrison? Damn Missouri for not telling me sooner." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 600. Sitting quietly on the sofa, all the madness on Hindenburg's face disappeared. She is not stupid and bold. Surrounded by a group of British ships, she is at least somewhat vigilant. Well, in fact, in the eyes of many people she knows, she is stupid and bold, and can be rude to anyone. In particular, they often don't understand the situation clearly. They say whatever comes to mind and do what they want to do, even though there is indeed no malice. Fruit. Reputation placed the fruit plate in front of Hindenburg. "Thanks." Hindenburg was rarely polite, and she had always been very casual. She never says a polite word in the ship girl headquarters. Of course, when someone asks her for help, she never shirks it. Her arrogant personality is often heroic. "You're welcome, just treat this place as your home." Sheng Sheng smiled, "We have the same admiral. The past is in the past, and now we are all sisters in the garrison." Hindenburg did not nod, and she did not deny it. She was a little worried that if she denied it, she would be torn into pieces. In fact, the scene she just saw made people feel a little scared. Even though he was equipped with powerful equipment, due to the sixth sense from the ship girl, he knew that if he said something rude, he would be pinned to the ground. If Lexington were here, he would be happy to easily win over Hindenburg with his soft words and contagious warm smile. The Reputation is different. Compared with the mistress, she is happy to be a maid. Without orders from Sugu, she is never troublesome. Hindenburg saw the Reputation leave, reached out and picked up a toothpick to poke at the apple and slowly put it into his mouth, unlike the usual slow chewing on the strands. Suddenly she found a little loli staring at her and whispering. She didn't shout loudly, "What are you looking at? Is there anything good to see?" because she was really worried about offending the little one or the big one. The enemy is too fierce, it's not good to use the word enemy to describe him. After all, he was very polite and brought me a lot of fruits and snacks. It's just that German ships and British ships should be enemies by nature. Although there are many British ship friends, the situation is different. In short, if I had known the situation here, I would not have come here anyway. Even if you want to go to the Toot Larry mansion, you can go directly there and don't want to associate with the royal court. However, we have already come, and it will not be good to leave again. Damn Missouri, he used to trick himself from time to time in the combat team, and he still doesn't stop now. Especially these days when I get the equipment and ask for drills, I keep shaking my head and refuse to drill no matter what. It was like this before, just run away after winning. Thinking about this, Hindenburg looked aside. She only saw Missouri and the admiral named Sugu talking. They seemed to be whispering to themselves, as if they were discussing something very evil, which made people worried. Standing by the window, carefully looking at the Hindenburg with his peripheral vision, Sugu asked, "Is this really the Hindenburg?" Missouri said, "No child can be deceived. You wouldn't just find someone to deceive me. Even if you can't get Hindenburg, there is no need to find someone to pretend to be for the sake of face. Of course, this sentence was just said casually, and there was no doubt in it. Missouri said, "I can understand why you are doubtful. This is the first time I have seen her so honest." Sugu pursed his lips. He knew the Hindenburg. Historically, the Hindenburg battleship did not actually exist. It should be called the H-39 battleship. The new battleship developed on the basis of the Bismarck battleship is also an unfinished battleship. Because it was not completed, it had no official name in history. As for why it was called Hindenburg here, it is unknown. Each model of warship has an illustration and a lot of information, such as its life as a warship and its parameters. Ship girls who have also inherited the soul of battleships also have illustrations, information, parameters of ship equipment, and their possible personalities based on history, and ship girls that have already appeared, etc. Most ship girls also come with one or many photos. The Hindenburg has an old photo of her wearing a military uniform. The photo gives people a very wild and handsome impression. When Missouri said that Hindenburg had a silly character, Sugu didn't believe it at first, but now he has no choice but to believe it. The ability to observe people's emotions is 100%. Missouri patted Sugu on the shoulder and said, "I know so many people, but I chose her. Why do you think it is?" "I chose Hindenburg because she was stupid, otherwise it would be like a company. Can you get it? Is there any possibility?" Mentioning this point, Sugu said, "Give me some time, it may not be impossible for the Enterprise." Missouri didn't believe it. She knew the Enterprise very well and did not rule out the possibility, but it was too small. She said, "You have sent out York City and Bumblebee, and I have provided assists. So far, there is no hope at all." "Ha, come on, you are so picky." Although the Hindenburg eats more and does less, the price/performance ratio is indeed relatively low, but it is still a powerful battleship, so give it some face. You're being black. As long as you know. Sugu looked at Hindenburg, who was sitting at the coffee table and seemed much more honest. He was poking at the fruit in the fruit plate with a toothpick and eating. He was even talking softly to the little loli instead of being aggressive. He said curiously, "I really caught it? As long as you don't do weird things to people, there's basically no problem. I put all my equipment out, so this is the only way I can get people back. If you don't join the garrison, the equipment will naturally come out." Join the garrison. In the government, the wealth will not flow to outsiders. No, I want her to spit out her own cat cannon. Missouri proudly said, "First I ravaged her, pressed her to the ground and rubbed her hard, and then lent her the equipment. You have read those novels. First take the little girls to experience the world of flowers and feasts, and wait until they can no longer know way out. As long as I threaten to cut off their money, you can't help but squeeze them into balls." Sugu was speechless and said, "Thank you for your hard work. It's not hard work. Serving the admiral is what you should do. Missouri deliberately made a cooing sound, and then laughed to herself. Reward, can't forget it. Sugu narrowed his eyes. If you are capable, he won't be stingy anymore. He said, okay, you can give me any reward you want. Missouri smiled evilly again. Have you discovered that Hindenburg usually looks crazy, but in fact she is very girly at heart? If you give her a gift, she says she doesn't want it, but actually she really wants it. She never wears makeup. No, I don't want to put on makeup, I just think how can I put on makeup as a Hindenburg? Her mantra of destroying the enemy and conquering the enemy is actually. Sugu listened to Missouri's eloquent talk about many things that happened to Hindenburg, and he said, it's completely unexpected. Missouri said, so what do you think? What do you want me to think? The Hindenburg battleship, although her skin looks a little pale, she is still very beautiful. She is tall and plump, and she is also very big. It suits your aesthetics. Do you want to marry her? I can provide you with one-stop service. It starts with luring someone into the town guard house, then you can pin her to the ground to cooperate with you in comforting her to gain favor, and finally, you can give her a ring and get married. Tisk, 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 where did you find a good ship girl like me? There were still a lot of people around who had not settled their relationships well, so Sugu said, you are the madam. You are a prostitute. Boss, I still like you. Okay. Missouri smiled sweetly. She never had stage fright, but in the end she raised her foot to step on Sugu's foot, and then laughed to herself, haha, Hindenburg. I want to see her wearing a wedding dress and walking awkwardly. I want to see her putting on makeup in order to please the admiral, but then she feels that putting on makeup will ruin her image. I want to see her put on high heels for the admiral, but she can't walk at all. She also wants to give a gift to the admiral she likes, but she is coquettish. I dare not, I find these scenes interesting when I think about them. Sugu said, I am a very pure admiral. Dating without the purpose of getting married is like being a hooligan. Sugu suddenly sneered, Hindenburg is so lucky to have a friend like you. Thanks for the compliment. The two people who were working together had finished laughing. When they got down to business, Sugu said, what did you gain from being out for so long? Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 601. Missouri came back, accompanied by a strange woman with short gray hair. Seeing them coming from a distance, Sugu had already asked the counterattack sitting next to him who it was. The little maid shook her head. She didn't recognize him, which meant that he was not a companion who once guarded the mansion. They are here, but Hindenburg is a guest after all and must be entertained well. Until he made people feel at home, probably, Sugu then talked about business with Missouri. The reason why I decided to bring Missouri with me instead of my lovely sister-in-law was not to fish out the Hindenburg, it was just to add to my head. It was more important to find my former companions than to fish out the boat. In fact, before he spoke, he no longer had high hopes. If he could find his own ship girl, Hindenburg should not be the only one around Missouri. But you still have to ask, you need to understand the situation, and you can't be self-righteous. Sugu asked questions, and Missouri showed his hands. Holding his hands behind his head, Missouri spoke, talking a lot of nonsense. I have been to several cities in total, but I have not been to ordinary county offices, mainly because I don't know the people there. Birds of a feather flock together, and people like me flock together. For a battleship like me, almost all of my friends are big shots, and you didn't give me a few days originally. Sugu remained silent, and Missouri continued, you said your ship girls are very strong, like Lion, Veneto, Rodney, Nelson, anyway, there are many, I have written them all down. You said they joined if you go to the ship girl headquarters, not to mention becoming a leader, you will at least become a very powerful being. Judging from everyone's ability, Akage, with a little bit of ideas, can easily obtain a high position in the academy, just like Zeppelin has become her junior. If everyone really wants to hang out in the ship girl headquarters, their status will not be lowered. This is a common view among everyone in the guarding mansion. Missouri said, I left with the loot. First I went to find Hindenburg, which I won't talk about. I stayed for 1 day and left the next day. I took a passenger ship there at a convenient place, but I was too late and missed the schedule. I sailed directly there. On the way, I was thinking, if I meet a ship girl from your family, or our family, the people I know, I met a long time ago, they are definitely not your ship girl, and then maybe it's the people around them, such as the assistant committee. When everyone met, I said that I joined the governor's house, and the admiral's name was Sugu. Thinking that they also said next to them that my admiral's name was Sugu, this scene must be very interesting, too bad it never came. Sugu had actually thought about it before. Missouri liked to challenge the strong, so he might know Lion and Vanguard. This time I got powerful equipment to show off and challenge, and then naturally I was pushed to the ground and rubbed by the Queen's Vanguard, who also had good equipment in the training ground, and something interesting happened in the end. In fact, I asked Missouri a long time ago and there was no useful information at all. In addition, since the events such as Zai and South Dakota, Missouri has long lost its former pride. I've heard a lot of random rumors, and the one I've heard the most is the Black Ghost Bismarck. I didn't expect that I can still hear it here after so long. The ship girl will disappear without pursuit, so the ship girl headquarters supports the ship girl to find the admiral. There is one, it's good to have sustenance. I think of some funny things. They said that there has been no news about Bismarck recently, and maybe he disappeared on the sea. I said Bismarck was married, and she was so shocked that her jaw dropped. Speaking of which, she also gained reputation, and the information on Hood Company is unfortunately meaningless. Some reliable information. I personally visited these places. That's all. There is no good news. They don't recognize you. There are some rumors. They don't know whether they are true or false. In the end, I didn't go there. Then, what you saw was just bringing Hindenburg over. Having already thought of it, Sugu looked a little downcast for a moment. I knew it. What do you know? Missouri raised his eyebrows and smiled again. Don't be so disappointed, I really didn't get any useful information. But think about it here, would such a situation happen, the guard's house, a lot of people got the word, Royal Oak was the first to come back, and then there were a lot of people who were just a little bit later than Royal Oak, and we just came out and didn't know. Sugu reacted sharply. You want to say that you didn't get any information, but do you know who has heard the news and has already returned to the guard house? Anyway, there will definitely be a surprise when you return to the town hall. Sugu thought for a while. The people who might be here, just mentioned the lion, and Missouri's expression didn't change at all. It must not be them. Not to mention everyone running around the world. Japanese ship girls are not supposed to be here. Girls who have returned to study abroad are somewhat possible, but I am Meijing Gang. The Grand Canyon of Colorado is also a possibility, but not very likely. Then there are only the silly little lowly team left, and then there are many people from the German team, such as the Z-series destroyers that are always getting stronger. Who are they? I've also heard that there are quite a few people there. Sugu asked again, who are they? Missouri looked at the ceiling and said, if you don't know. He knew Missouri quite well. After all, he had lived there for such a long time, especially on a cruise ship. Sugu said, don't pretend to be stupid. Missouri chuckled, it's useless if you know it now. It will be fine when you return to the town hall. Curious. Missouri crossed his arms and laughed suddenly, which made people feel uneasy. If you want to know, let's discuss the reward first. Even if Missouri didn't say anything, she couldn't vent her anger on others. Sugu said, I'll give it to you if I tell you. Don't worry. I lied to Hindenburg just to tell her an xin. Are you playing this trick with me? Sugu said with a smile, so you, a girl, think about rewards all day long, can't you think more about the future? You have contributed to the governor's office, but you also have to think about how much you have learned through this time. This is not because you are working hard for me, this is also an opportunity given to you by the town hall. Missouri reached out and patted Sugu on the shoulder and said, don't give me any advice. I'm not an intern. I can't find you if you just cajole me. Don't talk about your ideals with me. I just want money. Start-up companies don't go, there are 9 pitfalls out of 10. In a garrison like yours, just like those family businesses, relatives take all the important positions and work together to trick outsiders. Wife Lexington Secretaryship, wife Bismarck, Prince of Wales, Akaga will be the flagship for all attacks, and resources will be given to his wife. Anyway, you only give important positions to those who like you. It's not because of my wife that I put them in important positions. It's mainly because they are great, and then I marry them, and I work hard to gain favor. You have to figure out the cause and effect. Missouri pretended to be frightened and asked him not to attack me. Sugu was really powerless to complain, what reward do you want? First of all, don't give me any big red flowers and paper medals. Sugu remembered that after attending classes in the academy, he knew that Ship Girl had no need for material rewards. What she wanted was spiritual rewards. There was nothing more beautiful than a life. A hug and a thank you are often the best rewards. And for destroyers, if you want to reward them, it is also good to give them big red flowers and paper medals. Well, in the elective craft class, as an admiral, I learned how to fold paper medals. It's just that everyone else has destroyers, but he is surrounded by the hard-to-train York City, which is a bit uncomfortable. Obviously Missouri can't be fooled by these gadgets. Sugu said, speak directly, what do you want? Little house. Yes. Even a small house can be sold, just to sleep with him for a night. Speaking of which, I miss her a little, and I haven't seen her since she came out. Although I just want to play and read comics all day long in the Toot Larry mansion, occasionally I will lie on my bed, lying sideways on my waist, thinking about who else has not returned to the Toot Larry mansion. There is a big mackerel, archerfish, there are many of them. Anyway, it's so cute. Missouri said, I keep saying that I like Zai the most, but in the end I betrayed him casually, without any conscience. That sentence is correct. Men don't have to betray, but the stakes for betrayal are not high enough. Sugu said, when it comes to conscience and betrayal, you don't have any of these, so you deceived Hindenburg. Missouri waved his hand, okay, no more. I still need equipment. For you. Sugu thought to himself, just bring Bazai's equipment. Anyway, she has no interest in attacking at all, she is a complete homebody. However, Missouri showed an expression of sudden realization, I just remembered that the equipment is the gift you promised a long time ago. You also know that it is a betrothal gift. You can only accept the betrothal gift under any circumstances. At least your fiancé, how about you? Missouri said, so it turns out that I just wanted to be your ship girl. Sugu said, have you done it? What do you think? Speechless, Sugu had to admit that Missouri had indeed fulfilled her role as the captain of the town and had paid a lot for it. Sugu kept silent and joked, speaking of which, every time I see you go out and come back to buy gifts for Zai, you don't want to defraud her of the equipment. Missouri pretended to be surprised, what? When you are with Xiao Zai, you would actually think of cheating for equipment. Are you kidding me? I want to cheat Bazai's equipment as well. I have a lot of money. Just agree to help her buy a notebook. As a powerful battleship, she would never be short of money. Although she spent a lot of money traveling around, she still had a lot of savings. At least she was richer than a homebody like Baizai. Baizai used to work as a painter entirely out of interest, and then all the family expenses depended on Bismarck. Bismarck would not give Baizai money, and at most he would give Leipzig a guarantee of food and drink. "I want to build it again," Missouri said. "With Mk6 and armor-piercing bombs, what else are you building?" Missouri thought for a long time and said, "It seems so, but I have been thinking that I must build equipment." Then he carried Lafayette on his back, Suk Bader hung on his chest, held Ruhi in one hand, and holding Prince Eugen's hand only, "He is invincible. You can't do so much on your own. Let Rafi put his arms around my neck, and then let Suk Bader on the chest also put his arms around my neck, and you can hold someone with both hands." Sugu said, "Don't think about it. You don't have that kind of treatment. That's the treatment that I only have. You can only find Hood and Royal Oak, and then Swafeng can make an exception and let her help you." Seeing that Missouri wanted to say more, Sugu said, "That's enough, no more, let Xiazai sleep with you. I've already given a lot, don't be too greedy. Tell me, who are they?" After Missouri finished telling what he knew, Sugu finally knew it. He slowly digested the news and said, "If everyone hangs out at the ship girl headquarters, they should all get the news, and the rest of the people should not be there. It's the ship girls' headquarters, at least it's far away from the circle of admirals and ship girls." Missouri said, "Maybe. How to say? In order to suppress some deep-sea ship girls, we all lived on an island in the depths of the sea for several months with our luggage. Fortunately, as ship girls, as long as we have resources, it doesn't matter. The main thing is that we won't get sick, otherwise a place like that, full of wild beasts, especially a lot of weird bugs. After spending so much time on the island, and then coming back, I feel disconnected from society. Okay, it's not that exaggerated. But there are one point, I just heard that the news about your garrison is quite talkative. Don't expect it to be popular after a few months. Especially here, you are simply irrelevant to many people. If someone is like us before same, maybe I won't get any news from you. The shipgirl headquarters can guarantee such an important position in the world. Don't think that it doesn't do anything. It is said that it is cut off from the government, but how can it really be separated? Some shipgirls are very busy, traveling all over the world. Need to discuss various matters with the human government. Like the lion you said, as a queen, as you said avant-garde, the royal yacht, maybe the diplomatic ambassador of the shipgirl headquarters, living in the capital of any country in the mainland, and then simply don't know these things. Sugu said, "That makes sense. I'm just guessing. Zeppelin is just a mixed college, and only Missouri knows many people in the shipgirl headquarters, which is better than many people in the town government." She talked a lot, and Sugu roughly understood the situation. Seeing Missouri being proud, he joked, "I feel like this trip is completely useless whether you come or run." Missouri shook her head and said, "The bride enters the bridal chamber, and the matchmaker throws it over the wall." Sugu said, "You speak very smoothly." Missouri said, "According to theory, Schrodinger's cat. If I didn't make this trip, they would definitely not know about you." Sugu sighed, "I told you the theory. I don't even understand what it means, but you are still pretending in front of me. It's just that you don't know that I'm telling you." Sugu thought for a while and said, "Let me ask you a question. If all the lives and surveillance systems in the world don't look at the moon, do you think the moon will suddenly disappear?" "Won't. Who knows, you have no evidence. Maybe the moon has an attribute. If no one looks at it, it will disappear. There is evidence that high tides are caused by the influence of the moon. Would that disappear for a second?" Missouri snorted and said, "I don't want to discuss this kind of issue with you, it's boring. Sugu also smiled and thought that the first suppression of Deep Sea Yamato was not as effective as this time. The main reason was that Deep Sea Yamato was easily bullied, so it was not breaking news. This time it was exciting enough, and it was also deliberately promoted, and it seemed to be very effective.